What's up guys, Dakota here and welcome back to the Driven Mad channel. So in today's video we are going to be taking my mom's Colorado ZR2 off-road for the first time, and shout out to my mom for being awesome for basically letting me take her 2-month-old truck off-road, and she's not even going. She's just like, nah, go ahead and take it. So that's pretty awesome. And we're also just going to kind of see how it does off-road, as well as just kind of compare it to the Bronco, being that it's the only other independent front suspension vehicle that's designed for off-road that I have access to. I know they're very different. Basically the Bronco on paper is a much more aggressive off-road vehicle. It's got much bigger tires, better approach, breakover, and departure angles. But hey, they both do have front and rear locking diffs and both have independent front suspension. So, I just figured it'd be kind of fun to do. And yeah, so I'll probably catch up with you guys once we get there and kind of get the vehicle set up for hitting the trails. Alright, so before we get started, the first thing that I'm going to do is put it in 4-wheel drive low. So, we already aired down. I'm at about basically 17 PSI all around. And all I'm going to do is, I got it in park, press the little 4L on the shifter here. As you guys can see, it automatically brings up the front-facing camera. And then that's basically it. And I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the sway bar, because that's important. So in the Colorado, it's fairly simple. Put it in 4-low. You just got to rotate this little knob off to the left of the steering wheel. You just put on the brake, rotate it all the way over, and that's basically it. There is no sway bar disconnect or stabilizer bar disconnect for those hardcore Bronco guys that hate when you call it a sway bar disconnect. But yeah, so that's basically it. This one is also aired down to basically 17 PSI all around as well. Alright, so the first thing that I've noticed as we're about to go down this drop-off is the visibility forward and kind of out and down is definitely nowhere near as good as, like, say, the Wrangler or the Bronco, because you have this giant bulge in the hood. But so far it seems to be doing well. I do, however, wish the low-range gearing was a little bit more aggressive. You really have to kind of be on the brakes. Now, it does have hill descent control, which is cool, but again, I just wish that low range was a little bit more aggressive. Like first gear just seems like it's willing to go up a little bit to too high of a speed. It's been great so far, and it's super quiet and super comfortable. All right, so this particular area is kind of steep. It goes up to about a 25, I think, degree angle. So it's gonna be pretty good to see kind of, how the Colorado grip and traction works. With that long wheelbase though, it should be fine. So right now we're at about 18 degrees, and I'm gonna see if I can get this. This is pretty aggressive. I'm gonna go ahead and lock the rear diff.
All right, so obviously I did not expect that to happen. I think I was a little bit too used to the Bronco and Wranglers 4-inch taller tires and much more aggressive approach angle. This particular area has gotten super rutted out since the last few times that I've been out here. So the ledges are a lot steeper. So we tried to go around the other side, and as you guys will see, that also didn't work. So it's gotten to where really, if you don't have at least 35s and a much more aggressive approach angle like a Wrangler or a Bronco does, in the 40-degree range, you're really just going to smack your bumper or skid plate. So after this, we're going to head a different route.
downhill section. It's kind of rutted out, as you guys can see. And I'm going to try using the... It's really hard to kind of gauge this on camera, but I'm going to try using the Colorado's hill descent control, and we're going to see how well it does at just keeping it controlled down here. I'm not going to touch the brakes, and we'll see how it goes. So, like I said, I'm going to try using the hill descent control here, so I'm going to go ahead and press it. And that did nothing, so I'm going to press it again. Still isn't doing anything. Maybe I have to be in low? That isn't working. So I'm just going to leave it in first gear. I don't know what it's doing. All right, getting a little bit of flex here. Man, I really wish this thing had a front-facing camera, because it is pretty hard to see what's going on in front of you with this hood bulge. It's doing well, and I mean, I've just left it in first gear, just using my brake to go down it. Because if I let go, I can feel that the hill descent control isn't doing anything, so I'm not sure what's going on. All right, I think it did pretty well. Didn't scrape anything, which is good, because I don't need to be doing that anymore. And let's see how the Bronco does. I already know how the Bronco does.
So this particular spot is really nothing hard for the Bronco. Really nothing we did today really test the Bronco, but just so you guys can kind of see the difference between 31-inch tires, 35-inch tires, and you know, different wheelbases and things like that.
I'm actually really impressed. So as you guys can see, we got it up on old Dwayne Johnson. If you guys aren't familiar, this is the rock that I usually use to test flex, except we're doing it backwards. But you can see here, that's still touching. If we walk back to the back, that wheel and tire, look at that, it still has plenty of space. That is actually really impressive, and it's still touching right there. Like, I'm actually really surprised by that. That's I was expecting to get one wheel in the air, but it's up there, and that rock's probably at least, I'd say, about 1.5 feet high. So that's pretty solid. That is really impressive. Yeah, and then as you guys can see, I mean, it's clearly tilted because the bed is now way down here. So now we're gonna see what the Bronco can do. All right, so as you guys can see, same thing. Now, obviously, we do have the stabilizer bar disconnected, and as you guys can see, no issues for the Bronco. Let's look at that rear tire. And the rear tire still has plenty of room, plenty of clearance. This tire is on, it's actually on that rock, so that's why it looks like it's off the ground, but it's actually on the front of the tire is on that. But yeah, there you go. Still pretty good flex for both. I'm actually really impressed with the Colorado. I really expected it to lift the wheel in the air there, just because it's got much smaller wheels and tires. It doesn't have a sway bar disconnect, but hey, there you have it. They're both really good at articulation from the factory for both being, you know, independent front suspension vehicles.
So this was probably the hardest obstacle we hit that day, other than obviously slamming the face of the Colorado into a rock, but we'll gloss over that And just a good little spot to get flexy, engage the lockers, and surprisingly the Bronco actually struggled the most here.
All right, little bit of passenger. There you go, and keep coming that way. Little bit more passenger, a little bit more. There you go, and just keep adding throttle. There you go. Now straighten the wheels up. Just keep it right there, and just keep applying gas. All right, back up a little bit. Go driver. All right, now put it in drive and go passenger. All right, there you go. Keep it right there. Keep the wheel right there. Keep going, a little bit more gas. There you go. So we're now headed back on that last obstacle that you guys probably saw. I did have to lock the rear diff, but that was it. And that was pretty surprising. I mean, it went up there pretty well. As we're heading back, I still think that it would really benefit from a front-facing camera or just maybe a lower hood bulge. That would probably help a little bit, or just both, give you a bit more forward visibility. I wish it had a little bit more aggressive gearing, because it just doesn't seem like it has a whole lot of engine and gear braking. When you're in 4-low, it just seems like it's a little bit too willing to kind of freewheel down a hill. You kind of have to really force it into low and make it stay in first gear. Whereas in, say, like the Bronco or like the Wrangler 392, the other automatics that I have, they're more willing to do that kind of on their own. Also, I did figure out how to engage the hill descent control. You press it and then it does come on. There's a little light. There's no like display that pops up. It's just a little light that comes up on the dash. Basically, it then controls it. Once you start going down a deep and relatively steep descent, then it will kind of hold you and you'll feel the brakes kind of grabbing. So that's kind of interesting that it doesn't give you more of like a heads up that it's engaged or bring up a setting for you to set the speed. But yeah, we're gonna head back. So we got a nice little 4-hour drive back home. I'm also gonna need to clean my mom's ZR2 because, you know, we got a little dirty, a little dusty because it's super dry and dusty out today and the wind is something crazy. So with that being said, overall, how did it compare to the Bronco, and how did the Bronco compare to another independent front suspension vehicle? Well, not surprisingly, the Bronco is definitely more capable when it comes to slow speed, kind of rock crawling trails. It's got much more aggressive gearing. You know, it's a 4.7 final drive as opposed to this, which I think is a 3.23, I think. It's obviously got much larger tires from the factory, better approach and departure angles, so it's a little bit easier to get up and over some things. You know, Austin's just back there just kind of chilling, not having to work as hard. He's just kind of letting the Bronco do its thing, and it's just kind of going over everything. However, these both have very good articulation. Like, this really surprised me, again, for being not really a rock crawler and having no stabilizer or sway bar disconnect. It flexed pretty good. I think this is definitely more towards the overland setup as opposed to a rock crawling setup. Like, for example, I would not take one of these to the Rubicon Trail. However, I would take a stock Bronco or stock Wrangler Rubicon to the Rubicon Trail, hence that's kind of how they got their name. And I've seen plenty of people do the Rubicon Trail in stock Jeeps, whereas this I wouldn't. But this is also something that if I wanted to go out to, say, Colorado and hit up, say, like Black Bear Pass, I think this would be awesome. And plus, on the drive up there, it would be awesome and get great gas mileage. On the drive up here, it did 200 miles, a little over 200 miles on just half a tank. But yeah, guys, anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found it helpful, whether you're looking at one of these. And if so, make sure to give it a like and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time. Take care.